Welcome to the FCI London podcast, where we sit down with some of London's most influential luxury designers to explore their stories and inspiration behind their work. I'm your host, Imke Toy, and I am joined today by Katerina Tchevytchalova, founder of Curated Design, a West London-based studio with an international footprint in London, Zurich, and Cyprus. Fluent in 5 languages, Katerina blends art, culture, and refined minimalism into spaces that balance emotion, craftsmanship, and modern elegance. Recognized by Stella magazine, she continues to redefine the meaning of subtle luxury in interior design. Katerina, it's such an absolute pleasure to have you here today, and welcome to the conversation.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Katerina, your work feels deeply personal and every detail tells a specific story. At what point did you realize you weren't just designing luxury spaces, but rather telling international stories?
So I think it happened quite naturally because our design is very much driven by our clients as well. And obviously every client is so different, and the way they live and use their house, their space is so different as well. So I would say that, when we started getting more international work as well, so in Cyprus and Switzerland, we've realized that people live very different. What they like is very different. The way, light hits the space is very different. And, we wanted to make the design not just beautiful, but it also, of course, needs to be really practical. It needs to be functional. So in the end, we realized that we're not just creating picture perfect spaces, but we are telling a story of how each client lives their life inside that house, and it all
Yes.
depends on factors as which room of the house do they use the most? Do they have children? Do they have pets? Is this their, kind of forever home, their permanent home, or is this more of a pied a terre? So all these factors,
Of course.
that
So it's really just understanding their story as well, because that's what you are doing, creating spaces to tell, their story and from their
exactly,
backgrounds and their cultures as well. With
exactly.
5 languages, 5 in your repertoire, how do these different cultural lenses influence your approach to space and design?
So I think I was really fortunate and lucky to have learned all these languages when I was quite
Mm.
young because my international background. I was raised in Cyprus. I went to an international school, which was very heavy on languages. And then obviously moving to London almost 20 years ago. I think it's a bit of a superpower, to be honest, because I think that there are a lot of similarities between design and language in the sense that, we're trying to tell a story and we're building a rapport. And I find that when you're speaking to someone and they find out that you can speak their language, suddenly the energy shifts and, they feel
Absolutely.
more at home with you, they feel more comfortable with you.
Mm.
And that is the case with clients and suppliers and contractors. And I find that if you speak the person's language, you understand certain nuances that cannot be translated into another language. So it might be like a little joke, a little phrase,
Mm.
the way they say something, and you're able to catch that, which helps you to deliver a project to the best of
Mm.
your ability. And it's something that, is sometimes untranslatable.
Absolutely. I feel that that is something that's so unbelievably important. I guess it also breaks the ice a little bit with the clients as well, and they feel a lot more comfortable to be able to get their ideas across in their own language, which I think is fantastic. And I'm sure it opens up a lot more scope and space for you as well as a
Yeah.
designer, and in terms of stretching your growth a little bit further as well, which is fantastic. So I wanted to ask, minimalism is often misunderstood as empty. I mean, you champion refined minimalism with texture and balance. What do you think is the most common mistake people make when trying to strip back without adding any depth?
So I think you very rightly noted that it has a very bad rep because when you say, oh, the space is minimalist, people think, oh, it's
Mm.
bare, it's cold, it's boring, there's not much to look at. But I think the whole concept of minimalism is not taking away things, it's not stripping away things, but it's more about refining. So in a space that's minimalist, you need to ask yourself the question, what is the purpose of each item? What story is it trying to tell? What function does it have? And, minimalist doesn't mean, plain walls with, I don't know, some metal shelves. It's all
Yes.
about refining and making sure that each item has a purpose. And I think
Okay.
if you combine maybe not many items, but they all have different textures. This automatically makes things more interesting. It still makes your eye travel. I think on a psychological level, not living among clutter is a lot more relaxing. And
Yes.
I find that all of my clients are very busy people with, very busy
Mm.
careers. And when they want to come home, they want to feel relaxed and not have all this visual clutter around them. And I'm generally a believer that having negative space,
Mm.
i.e., a bit of empty space, is a big luxury, especially in a city like London, where, we're trying to be clever and use every single centimeter
Yes.
for pitch or
And to be out there and bold and wanting to add too much.
exactly. So, I mean, of course, as I said, our projects are driven by the client, and there are some clients who like to have a lot of things, but we always try to advise them against it. Because
Okay.
also another thing to remember when we're designing, it's not a show home. It's not, a house where every cushion, every vase will stay like this for X amount of time. A house is a living organism. And, clients might go to an art fair and buy a new piece of art. They might buy a new piece of, I don't know, vase, accessory, ceramics, little side table. And if we leave them with a house that has no space for growth, every corner is already stuffed with things, then
Yes.
they cannot evolve. And I think we as designers also need to accept that the house is not going to look the way we've left it in, let's say, 2 years' time. And that's okay. And that's natural.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I do agree. Do you think people are a little bit scared, maybe a little bit of minimalism sometimes as well, where they always feel that they have to add more, as well. And, sometimes understanding that too much is too much. Sometimes you do need
Exactly.
that balance and that space. And like you said
Yes.
as well, to make a tranquil space where you can feel calm is so vitally important in the very busy world that we live in. If you could change three things about luxury interior design, what would they be? And why do you think they're long overdue for a little bit of a shakeup? If you could choose
Oh,
three.
three things that need to be changed in luxury interior design. I think, well, the good thing is, I think things are already changing quite a lot in our industry. Um, I
Yes.
think people are not always designers are not always approaching, the big superstar brands anymore when it comes to sourcing pieces of furniture. And they are open to exploring more niche items that are made by artisans. And I think that is the true luxury, something that is potentially, handmade, something that is limited edition. So it's not just the box standard, big brand sofa that you bought from
Mm.
luxury store in central London.
Yes.
And I think luckily clients are realizing that as well. So I think people are stepping away from like the mainstream concept of what luxury is, which is great.
Okay.
I think the other thing is, which again, I am seeing this shift. Another word in luxury design that had a bad rep for many years is sustainability, because automatically people are
Yes.
thinking, oh my God, it's going to be, some ugly recycled
Yes.
plastic label. Why am I paying, £12,000
Mm.
for it? But
Sure.
that is no longer the case. A lot of luxury brands, a lot of artisans, they are looking into how we can make our world more sustainable, how we can reuse
Mm.
items, give them a new lease of life, how we can bring
Okay.
more vintage items into an interior, which, I think a couple of years ago, a luxury client would be like, vintage,
Mm.
you want to fill my stuff with, someone else's
Yeah.
old y- y- crap?
Yes, and I don't want something repurposed. Of course, yes. I want something that's mine and you're not reused.
Okay, I want it shiny, brand new, I'm the first person to touch it. But I think now clients and designers are embracing this concept of an item having history behind it,
Yes.
giving it a new lease of life, as I mentioned, which I think is really nice.
Which is great. It really
Yeah,
gets that story to keep going as well. It sort of gives that longevity to that piece as well,
exactly.
ever changing, ever moving.
Exactly. And I think third thing is perhaps back in the day, people would value things more that came from the other side of the planet, saying things like, oh, this
Mm.
marble all the way from, I don't know, Brazil. It took us 10 months to get it here. I think
Yes.
now this is again linked a little bit to sustainability. People want to see what is local to them or not as
Mm.
far away from their country because they want to support local business, um,
Yes.
and they just want to explore what's essentially on their doorstep rather than seeing what's on the other side of the world. And that is, in my opinion, luxury as well.
No, absolutely. I think I agree with that. There's so many beautiful gems right on your doorstep that you don't actually
Exactly.
need to travel as far to get them and to consider that to be luxury. So I definitely I think concur with what you said with that one. It's nice to see that's being embraced and from both sides, be it designers and from clients.
Yep.
I want to move a little bit just into your kind of journey with your collaboration with FCI London. I mean, collaboration is such a vital part of creativity and it really pushes ideas further and brings a fresh energy into every project. Reflecting back on a project, was there a piece sourced via FCI that really finished up something you considered emblematic of your style?
Yes, actually, that's a really good question. I mean, when I'm designing for private residential clients, I want things to look really beautiful, but I'm all about practicality as well. So
Okay.
we sourced a beautiful dining table via FCI for our Chelsea project, where it was for a busy family with young children. They entertain quite a lot. We designed a beautiful kitchen and it's an open plan kitchen, and we needed a wow statement table that was
Yes.
easy to maintain, was the right size, didn't have sharp corners, and was just a statement piece in an otherwise quite pared back space.
Mm,
And we chose the perfect dining table with the help
beautiful.
of FCI, of course, from Bonaldo. And it had this beautiful ceramic top, which had rounded edges. So, if there are kids
Oh,
running
stunning.
around, it's quite practical. Nobody will hit
Mm,
themselves on any sharp corners. And the color was quite, neutral. It had this beautiful veining going through it. But then the base of the table was the wow element. It was quite sculptural and made out of this
no,
beautiful
wonderful.
dark gray kind of charcoal metal. And it really ended up being a statement piece. And, I had client feedback later on that, whoever comes for a dinner party, they're always asking, oh, where is this from? This is amazing. I think that was a really good collaboration because, we
Mm,
ticked all the right boxes. So it was something beautiful. It was really practical. It's easy to maintain. It will stand the test of time. It was a very, because it was quite neutral in its color and its shape, it's something
mm.
that will still look very relevant in 10 years' time.
Yes, of course.
This is what I want my clients to have. I don't want them to be stuck with something that they will potentially have to replace in 3 years because, they spilled some red wine and it's irreparable, or there's never
Absolutely.
ending, invoices from someone who needs to come and
Yes.
polish the top. And busy families, they just don't have time for this.
Of course. And obviously with children, like you were saying as well, what's great is to get a statement piece that's also so practical that it's also not a safety hazard for anyone. Is just the balance between the two. If you can find that, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, I feel that I mean, that's very, very important when you're collaborating in partnerships is to know that you've
Oh,
got that trust and that you feel at ease that, everything will be taken care of. And you know that the products that are coming from there is something that you trust and that you know that your clients will trust as well, directly and indirectly. So it's really fantastic to be able to create partnerships like that. And it's fantastic
yeah.
that you have them with FCI. I'm going to move a little bit to something different. I mean, it's something we talk about, I mean, all the time. It's something that's transforming our lives as we go
Yeah.
is technology and AI. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
changing the way we create experiences, especially spaces as well. I mean, there's a growing concern that AI and rapid technology growth may dilute the human touches in interiors. Where do you stand on the tension between speed, efficiency, and emotion?
So, everybody's talking about it right now. This is a very hot topic. And I actually had a
Yes.
discussion about this yesterday with a few other people from the industry. So I think we should actually embrace it. Yes, it's developing at lightning speed. And I actually think that the interior design industry is the one industry that's still kind of quote unquote safe. And I'll explain
Mm,
why. So first of all, it's a fantastic tool for efficiency, as you said. So there are some elements of the project where AI can be amazing. It can save businesses money, time, and is super efficient. For example, right now, with the way AI has developed, we can generate CGIs and renders at lightning speed and very cost effectively, whereas before we would need to pay a visualizer to do that. So this is a great way to test out ideas really quickly.
sure.
And especially this can be used with clients that are a bit more hesitant while making decisions, because some clients want to see loads of options and they're still not
Of course.
convinced and they make loads of tweaks. So if you're working with a CGI artist, this can end up being quite costly for the designer and for the
Mm.
client. So that's the good thing. The second thing, I saw a meme on Instagram the other day about why AI will never take over interior design business. And with AI, you need to give very clear prompts of what you want. And the
Yes,
clients hire us is because they don't necessarily know what they want, because they
exactly.
cannot possibly know what's out there. So,
Yes.
when I look at an empty room, I've got all these ideas because I've seen loads of different things. I've seen
Mm.
what my colleagues are doing. I've seen what other designers in different countries are doing. I'm, subscribed to various design
Mm.
publications. My ideas are there, but a client
Yes.
has no idea. So what exactly is it
Exactly.
going to prompt AI to do?
No, absolutely.
Room, design a kid's room. So
Exactly.
it might give a really lovely picture, great. But then how do you get the best price? How do you procure it? How do you make
Yes.
sure it's at your house on time and in one piece?
Mm. And is it possible and even doable, in
Possible,
reality versus
doable,
pictures?
while even space planning from a structural point of view, from an electrical point of view, is this even
Mm.
feasible? So AI might recommend something and then that doesn't work. And you tell AI, like, hey, this didn't work. My roof just collapsed. And ChatGPT
Exactly.
will be, all right, that's a very well noted point. Let me explore how we can fix your roof.
Let's just give me some other
So,
options. Yeah.
yeah, let me give you some other options. And also, the other reason why clients hire interior designers is for the luxury experience of having this person there who's ready to listen, who
Mm.
can interpret your taste, and who can give you solutions with a very human touch and human intuition, and who
Yes.
you can build a rapport with, someone who you feel you know.
Mm.
So
I
I
can talk
think
to you. Yes.
it's not just completing a task. We are forming
Sure.
human relationships, not just with
Absolutely.
clients, with suppliers, with contractors. And if we just get AI to do a pretty picture, which it can, is it going to look beautiful? Yes. Is it going to be practical? Possibly. Is it going to be feasible? Arguably. Is it going to feel personal to you? And is it going to have a soul? No. AI
Yes.
doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
It's just a really efficient intern.
Absolutely. No, I think that was absolutely beautifully said, but you're right. And it really does strip that. I mean, can
Yeah.
you imagine a future where virtual reality and AR tools actually shape more than just visualization, but the actual design decisions? I mean, how comfortable would you be handing
Well,
over all of that process, all of those processes? Because as you said, it's so important. We need the designers for that human touch. I mean, but would you be comfortable handing over part of your process through over to AI? I mean, do you use it now in the time? As you were saying, everyone needs to embrace it at some point as well.
yeah, we have started using it, yes, for things like visualizations or some quick sketches, testing out different ideas, different proportions. Would I feel comfortable handing all of it over? No, because just the time I would waste inputting all the information, everything I know about the client, how they live life, what they're trying to gain out of this whole experience. It will take so long. I've done some test runs, writing
Mm.
different prompts. The result is never what I want. However, as technology progresses, I think it can only become more helpful for us because maybe it can do some sort of, simulations, on-site simulations of how natural light hits different corners of the room and, things like that. But it cannot replace a human. It cannot ever understand a human with a soul the
Mm.
way the way another
No,
human can.
absolutely. And how how we kind of bring our own energies and personalities for it as well. It is different.
Yeah.
And then how you're communicating with different people. I mean, if a younger version of yourself were to start out now in an era where these tools are far more advanced, I mean, what would your biggest caution for using technology wisely be to a young, and to sort of vetting it?
So I think it will give me a bit of peace knowing that all those tools are there. However, I still think that you should do things, okay, I don't want to say traditional or old fashioned way, but you kind of need to know how to do things and understand proportion and form and light and how it reflects and how it hits different materials yourself. You cannot just be relying on technology, because if you are, then again, you're taking the soul out of the whole process. So you do
Of
need
course.
to go on site, learn as much as you can, talk to other people, talk to other designers who are more experienced than you, talk to suppliers, talk to contractors, talk to joiners to understand how things are actually made. Because yes,
Yes.
AI can give you an instruction of, how something works, but if you've never seen it in real life, you've never touched it, you've never experienced things going wrong, you're just not
Yes.
going to learn.
Of course. No, I think I absolutely agree. And like you said as well, learn as much as you can, ask as many questions as you can, you know, and then try and implement that in a balance with the tools that you're given with the ever-growing,
Yeah.
technological age we've moved into. And then to really find that balance, like you said. I mean, the world of interiors is also constantly evolving. And I mean, it's shaping by shifting lifestyles and new expectations, of course, as well, in a world fixated on the next big trend, because we know that that's a constant thing currently at the moment. I mean, how do you differentiate between what's timeless and what's merely temporary?
Yeah. I think, social media obviously played a huge role in all of this. You go on
Yes.
Instagram and you're bombarded by all these beautiful images, and, different accounts are telling you, oh, burgundy is the color of the season. You need to have burgundy in your house. Oh, you need to have kind of flooring. Your bathrooms need to look a certain way. So I think the way we have fast fashion, we are
Mm.
also at a point now where we have fast interiors. So
Okay. Yes.
the thing is, first of all, we need to understand that fast interiors and things that are quite temporary and, follow a certain trend that may not be relevant in 10 years' time could potentially not be made with as much care as something that is built to last.
Sure.
I think the important thing is to make sure that in your interior, the base that is difficult to rip out and expensive to rip out should be something quite timeless. There's nothing wrong with, following a few trends because, as I said, a house is a living organism, things evolve. So,
Yes.
you can swoop over your art on or maybe, reupholster a chair in a different fabric or,
Mm.
get a different decorative pendant or whatever. But the bones of the house, i.e., the flooring, what kind of finishes you
Mm.
have in the bathroom, what your kitchen looks like
Of course.
should be quite timeless. It's a little bit like, if you've got £5,000 to spend shopping, are you going to spend £5,000 on a ball gown the moment you have a 9 to 5 job, or are you going to spend it on a beautiful cashmere coat?
Mm. No, absolutely. A coat would obviously be the way to go. It's something that's there and can be used and reused as time goes on. You're absolutely right. Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
because you're using it more. I mean, unless you're the type of person that attends
Mm.
balls every week.
Yes, but I completely understand what you're saying. Foundations are so important and needing to make sure that remains timeless, um, you know, timelessly, and with anything else can be temporary and swapped in and out, as you said, with multiple
Yeah.
trends. We touched a little bit earlier around sustainability. I mean, clients are now far more aware of sustainability, provenance, and craft. I mean, how do you engage with clients who expect everything ethical now, but still want luxury detailing?
I think they are more concerned. Let's say if we're doing a full renovation, there's an architect involved, then they are looking into making their home as sustainable as possible, i.e., we're looking into different ways of heating the house, what's more efficient, what materials can, keep the heat in the house, installing solar panels. So all these kind of things. And then when it comes to interiors, yes, they want to make sure things are ethically sourced. So in particular, things like rugs, they want to make sure that, wherever the rugs are coming from, the workers are being paid fairly. So that's a conversation that I had
Sure.
with a client recently. So provenance, yeah, where things are coming from, what is the carbon footprint? Like how difficult is it for us to get it in
Mm.
the UK? And is there any way for us to perhaps find something similar closer to home, and when it comes to sourcing things like marble, if there is a specific marble that we know is going to be unavailable in a few years' time on planet Earth, then maybe
Yes.
that's something to try to steer them
To ship
away from.
sort of
And then things like timber flooring, we only work with suppliers that can attest and provide a certificate that, that everything was sourced ethically.
Yes. I guess that also, I think helps as well as knowing that also the like, again, the partnerships you have with your suppliers as well immediately just puts trust back into your clients, which obviously
Yeah.
creates a little bit, less of that conversation. What's an interior design idea you believe is overhyped, and what's something quietly emerging that you believe will matter significantly within the next, let's say, 5 years?
Something that's overhyped. Maybe this whole concept of having a statement wall, having a statement, yeah, a statement
Yes.
wall. I find a little bit odd. Like,
Yeah, but I
you might,
understand what you say. Something like
you might,
it's just an accent piece and an accent wall. I completely understand. I mean, we've all done
something
it. We all do it, you know?
random. Yeah, it just look really random. Like you walk into a space and everything is flowing really nicely, and suddenly you have this really weird wall that, I mean, it has no relation to anything. I find that a little odd, especially in a residential house. Maybe works in a
Mm,
commercial, like a hotel or a restaurant.
yes.
So yeah, that's the one thing.
I agree, but it did become just this thing, and then everybody just jumped on it. But I guess that's what happens with trends, isn't it?
Yeah,
And with
yeah,
social media right now, everyone wanting to fit in, and it's I've got this and I've got this, and everyone just ends up with the same thing, and nothing just comes across as bespoke and unique anymore. Then, but definitely interesting. But I would agree. I think someone mentioned something to me as well, just perplexed about everyone having a random accent war within their homes. But it is just one of those things. There's just one of those trends everyone jumped onto it. It'll be
yeah,
interesting to see within, the next 5 years if that's gonna be something, because I've noticed people stripping down more and more too, like, with minimalism as well, and looking more for comfort and and efficiency
yeah,
at this
yeah,
point as well. Okay. We're gonna look and jump a little bit straight into one of your projects. I've got some photos of one of your recent projects here with me. And I'm going to quickly share this with us today. So I'm just going to share our screen. Yes. Let me actually just go back one more. It's absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely just some stunning, stunning pieces in there. I mean, looking at the space, I mean, the interplay between the light and the form and the textures is quite evident. I mean, what was
mm.
your guiding litmus test for each of those elements in those pictures?
So this was for a residential client, again, a busy
Mm,
family of children. So their brief to me was, we don't want gray and white. We've lived in such interiors before. This is not who we are. We want something with a bit of personality, something that
mm,
feels warm. So the house had fantastic natural light. There's a skylight, there's floor to ceiling
yes.
windows. So we really took advantage of that. And we used kind of a very tonal palette with some accent colors of like rusty red and burgundies. So all the elements in those rooms that you've shown, they have different textures. So even on the walls, for example, we didn't go for a flat paint, but
Mm,
we actually specified a lime wash paint, which has a lot more movement and texture to it.
yes.
Depending on the light of day, depending on the season, it just looks completely different. So,
Correct.
every time you enter into a room, the room looks slightly different, which is great. And then we just wanted things to feel very calm, which is why, we went for these kind of timber finish
Mm,
colors. We didn't want anything that's, too light. We didn't want anything too dark because in winter months,
yes.
this can be a little bit too heavy. So everything is very tonal, but there is a lot of texture, and then there are some pops of color, which
Mm.
I think again is very important.
And
And
it's
all the fabrics that were specified are stain repellent, very easy
mm,
to maintain. They are natural fibers, so there's no risk of anybody getting, let's say, an allergic reaction
mm,
or anything like that. All the items, like so the rugs, for example, were made to size just to make sure that
mm.
everything fits perfectly in terms of
Yes, within the
proportion.
space. It's so beautifully balanced as well. We can also see the different textures in every single bit of the fabrics as well. As you said, and everything
Mm.
just blends so perfectly together, but stands separately on, at its own, as statements on its own. And then the blend together is just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you
Thank you.
often speak about emotion behind the architecture. I mean, was there a moment during the Kensal Rise project where you realized the space had finally captured that feeling?
Yes, I think it was at the very end when everything was finally installed,
Mm,
styled, all the light fittings had the bulbs in, we brought some flowers in, we brought everything in. And then when natural light just entered the room, I just realized that everything was intentional. Like there's not a
mm,
single piece there that has no function. Everything is very practical. And the reason all the colors complement each other so well is because we didn't just design it and specify everything in our studio, where the lighting, of
mm.
course, is very different to what it is on site. So we actually went to site at different times of day with all the materials.
Okay.
We asked the
Mm.
contractor to do paint finish samples, and we would just revisit the site several times to make sure that everything looks the way
Mm.
we intended to in the actual
Yes.
space.
That's incredible as well. I mean, just being that hands-on. I mean, but you have to be, I guess, as well as to making
Yeah.
sure that the choices that you're making are going to work any time of the day. And obviously, I mean, I think that's absolutely stunning. And then you must have been quite interesting to see as well how everything shifts and changes with the different times of day as well. And how exciting it's going to be to have your clients, be able to be in that space, experience that place, that space as well. Once it's done, must be quite incredible. I mean, that finished room feels layered yet
Mm.
composed. I mean, how did you know it was done? And, how do you resist the urge to keep layering? Because I think, we always want to try and just do a little bit more. And sometimes, you have to force yourself to stop and know that the product is done when it
Yeah, I think again, it goes back to my point of this not being a showroom. This is not a show home. This is real
absolutely
families. They're going to have kids running in. They're going to have their friends gifting them something for Christmas that they can put in the joinery unit. So we need to leave a bit of breathing space. So actually,
yes.
in this project, we even left some walls bare without any art, just for future
Okay.
reference when the
Hmm.
client will be buying something. A space needs some room to grow essentially. And of course you can go crazy and put like loads of cushions and on the sofa and loads
Yes.
of clothes and whatever. But I mean, a client, when he or she sits down to watch TV, do they want to be surrounded by 10 cushions? No. Those cushions are going to
Of
end up
course.
on the floor, which will be a shame,
Yes.
and it's a waste of money for them, is a waste
Mm.
of my time ordering and specifying all this stuff. Everything
Yes.
just needs to function. So realistically, when you sit on that sofa and you're watching TV, how many cushions do you need realistically to put behind your back?
Yes.
You don't need four.
Yeah.
So, this is not a show home. There
Mm.
needs to be a bit of empty space.
I guess that's also when they need to find the balance of, you have a picture and what is once it is in real life as well. Like you said as well, what is something that's sufficient and something that you can work with, and comfortability. Because at the end of the day, is that's exactly what it is, creating a home, not a showroom, and finding that balance that, and also I guess that's also a little bit something I think designers need to, probably need to battle with quite some times. We go, but I want it in there, to look this way, but then having to be composed enough to go, but is it, something that your clients are going to keep using, or is it more just, one of your own choices? As designers, we need to share experiences. I mean, it's one of the most powerful ways to shape the next generation because all of the upcoming young designers coming up at the moment. I mean, if you had one message you wanted listeners to walk away with about Carte design, I mean, what would it be?
I think the ethos of my brand is to be designing with emotion and with real people in
Mm,
mind, not following some sort of guidebook, and we're not trying to some, boxes in a list. We're dealing with real people. So I think I mean, my main message would be probably to listen to your client. That is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, there may be things that I don't necessarily agree on. And as long as it's something that I know will not, harm their everyday practical living, sometimes you
yes,
do need to, go with what your client wants, because at the end of the day, it's their house, not mine. They're the ones that will be waking
sure.
up and, they will see, I don't know,
And
patterned
living in,
curtains
yeah,
or
mm,
whatever it is that they
yes,
want. So I think our job as designers is to kind of take the client's wishes, listen to them, really listen to them on a personal level, understand how they live, understand how they use the space, what are their needs, how much time are they spending in each room, and then steer them in the right direction, because we've got the experience and we've got
cool.
the tools for that. And we have, a little black book of suppliers that can deliver all these
Mm,
different things. So it's our job to kind of gently guide them, but we cannot be forcing our vision onto a residential
Mm,
client, especially. In commercial projects, it's a little bit different, but if we're
mm,
discussing private residential, it's their house
mm,
and it's their way of living. And the way they
yeah,
live is not the way I live or the way you live or the
mm,
way my neighbor lives, you know? So again, that goes
absolutely.
back to that personal touch with the soul because
Mm.
ChatGPT will not be going to their house at different times of day, testing
No,
out paint.
it sees four walls and it tries to recreate, and that's it. I mean, finally, if you were to, I mean, to re-enter the industry today, I mean,
Mm,
what's one rule you might rewrite and why? If you had to re-enter it today, if you were to do it all over
mm,
again to start off again fresh, what rule
mm.
would you rewrite?
What would I rewrite? It's a difficult one. I think
Mm,
there are generally quite a few things that need to change in the
mm,
industry for young designers that are entering the industry. So, number one, I think it would be great to have some sort of mentor early on because I don't think our industry has that, unfortunately. So, you come
mm,
out of university and, you know, you're kind of dropped into the ocean and you don't really know what you're meant to be doing. And
yes,
I think the industry actually ends up losing quite a lot of fresh talent because this fresh talent is overworked,
mm,
burnt out, underpaid, and constantly being told that they're not ready for
yes,
something. But
yes,
how can you be ready if no one shows you and no one mentors you?
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, no, I
So
absolutely agree. I mean, that's vitally important because how do you keep, ever learning? And it's always one of those things. If someone showed you something one day, it's good to be able to know that you can pass that on as well. But I think mentorship is definitely one thing. And also it goes from both sides. You're gonna have the young generations also going to, be adapting a little bit quicker to the things that's happening now. And it's sort of that insight, back to the
yeah,
mentorship. It's always actually such a beautiful combination. But I do agree. And it is difficult out there, especially for young up and coming designers as well, sort of
yeah,
finding their space, finding their footing. And as you said, being overworked or being burnt out, earlier on because no one also told them, what to do, step back, where to look at things a little bit differently. So I
yeah.
absolutely agree. I think that's a great one. And now for
Mm.
a little bit of a fun element, we call this the rapid fire with Katerina. So I'm going to
Oh,
ask you a few small little questions and it's like little one word quick answers and let's see what you come up with.
oh, okay.
Okay, so number one, morning inspiration, sketchbook or scroll?
Scroll.
Design tools you can't live without.
Pencil? No, sorry, tape measure. Tape measure.
Okay. If not interiors, you would be designing.
Uh, laws. I would be a politician.
There we go. I love that. Well, here's one for you. Tea, coffee, or champagne during client meetings. Okay. Always, yeah, professional.
Yeah.
A design rule you love to break.
Under promise and over deliver.
That's good. That's very, very good. If FCI London designed your home, what would be the showstopper piece? Difficult one.
Ooh.
There's such a vast choice of things. If you had to think of something, if they designed your home, what would the showstopper piece be?
Well, that's a really difficult one. There's too many things. I don't know.
Well, think about
Maybe
a few. I mean, yes.
an amazing Meridiani sofa that I can just like sink
Okay.
into. Yeah, I love
Just, yeah,
Meridiani.
and just lie back in on and enjoy. That's wonderful. Okay. Describe your design style in one word.
Practical.
But that's exactly what it is. It embodies everything. It's good. That's a very good choice of words. A difficult question sometimes. If your studio had a motto, what would it be?
Studio. We listen to you.
Love that. Love that. Oh, but it's always just so fun just to ask these quick little questions, see how you think on your feet.
You really put me on the spot. I wasn't ready for this.
I did, but it's all just about having a little bit of fun. But thank you so much, Katerina. It's absolutely lovely chatting to you today and listening to your inspiring journey and your experiences and sharing your artistry and perspective on design. And it's been really inspiring to hear how you blend, your culture and emotion and craftsmanship into everything that you really create. And we really look forward to seeing your upcoming work and to following what Carte Design will be doing and really wishing you all the best. It's been absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So much. And to all our listeners and watchers out there, this has been FCI London podcast, and we hope to see you again. Keep listening, keep watching, keep designing, and follow us where we are going to talk to more influential luxury designers from FCI London. Thank you so much.